Hey guys, Solomon here. I hope you are having a great day. In today's video, we're going to be covering what I consider to be one of the most underrated gambits in chess as a whole. Okay, maybe the most underrated gambit for black in the game of chess when you look at the entirety of opening theory. Now, why do I think this? First off, it's rare. Okay, this is very rare. You don't see it. People don't know about it. People can't tell you what it is. Okay, secondly, it's sound. Okay, it's strong. And thirdly, it works at high levels of play. Okay, this performs very well in over-the-board tournament chess at the master level. Master and above, this performs well for black. So this shows that there is some oomph behind this gambit, right? Some gambits, for example, you know, not to throw shade at anything, but the Stafford gambit, for example, right? The Stafford, it's fun, but even though Eric Rosen plays it all the time, you're probably not going to see him play it too often in over-the-board chess against a very strong player, right? Because it's not sound, but this gambit is. Okay, now what is it? It has a couple of different names depending on how you say it. I mean, if you go on an online database on chess.com or Lichess, it's going to tell you that it's the Norwegian Gambit. Some also might call this the Norwegian Rat Gambit, but let's take a look. So it's against the move of either e4 or d4, either one. Okay, now we're playing the move e4, but notice when we play this move of g6 going into the Modern Defense, white can transpose into either of those moves, right? If they played e4, okay, they can play d4 now. And if they played d4 and we played g6 with the Modern, they could have played e4, right? So there's a couple of different move orders that you can start out with this, which is kind of nice. But if we do see, well, no matter which pawn went first, if we do see these two pawns in the center, the Norwegian Defense is this move of knight f6, or as many call it, the Norwegian Rat. Okay, Magnus Carlsen has played this with great success, attacking this pawn on e4. Now, this might just seem like a very not sound, not very strong opening, but when I'm looking at the engine right now, it's around plus 0.4 for white. Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty common for chess opening theory, and we're attacking this pawn on e4. Now, the best move according to the engine is this move of e5. Against that, we play knight h5. Bishop e2 in online chess is very popular. Now, what do we do with this knight? Do we run away? We could. That's not a bad move. But with the Norwegian Gambit or the Norwegian Rat Gambit, we have this move of d6. Okay, just offering up this knight on h5. And I'll be honest, I don't recommend this for beginner chess players. Okay, if you're a beginner, I probably would not recommend this for you. That said, I'm in the camp of play what you want, right? So if you're 500, if your rating's 500 and you want to play the Sicilian Defense and you're excited about it, go for it. Now, would I recommend the Sicilian for a beginner? Probably not. But all that to say, if you love these lines, even if you just got into chess, if you love these lines, you can play this opening. I'm not stopping you, right? I mean, play what you want. If you play what you like, you're going to play better than playing the right opening, which is better, but an opening that you hate, right? All that to say, though, I mean, you know, this is a very sharp opening gambit for black, okay? And what that means is that one little misslip and black could be losing. One little misslip from white and white could be losing. Okay, so if you're a beginner chess player, you might want to play something with a little bit more flexibility. Okay, something where you can make a mistake. You can make the third or fourth best move and not be in a line that is so crazy. On top of that, I would say that you really need to memorize these lines. If you're an intermediate, you know, upper intermediate or advanced player, and you're thinking about playing this gambit, this is not a gambit where you can just, you know, for example, watch this video and then go play it for years and have great success. You actually need to memorize the lines shown in this video and in others. Okay, so all that to say, I'm just warning you. Okay, I recommend this for high intermediate or advanced, and you got to memorize these lines. You just have to. Okay. That said, though, what could we see here? Okay, and a lot of these moves I'm pulling from the online database on Lichess. Okay, so I'm going to start out with the most popular move. Okay, and then we're going to go down to the following four. So we got 5 moves that we're covering in this position today. Okay, the most popular move that we see online is this move of bishop takes h5. Against this, I mean, let's just take back. Okay, now we're going to go over this move of queen takes. But I do want to say, I mean, if white plays knight f3 and just leaves the pawn there, we're still playing active chess. Okay. You know, you could take this pawn on e5, throw a knight to c6 if the knight captures back. Really play aggressive, play crazy. This is one of those gambits too where we're not too concerned about our pawn structure. We're more concerned about piece activity. And at some point, rook g8 is played in pretty much every line, okay? Because we have that open file. Okay, a good example of this, let's say white takes on d6. Let's take back with the queen. Let's play active chess here. Put some pressure on d4. If white decides to fly in and take that pawn, we could take on d4. But I think it's better for us to actually play knight c6 and look to capture back with the knight. Okay, that minor piece, just putting some pressure on the opponent. Let's say here we play, we see a move like c3, which is, by the way, the only move that actually, helps this pawn survive, because at the moment, we have 2 attackers, they have 0 defenders. So the only way to hold on to this is to add a pawn so that your first capture is a pawn. In this case, rook g8. Rook g8, right? Go after this pawn. Okay, and if you see a move like g3, the computer recommends knight takes d4. Now, when I first saw this, I was very confused, just being fully transparent. Okay, when I'm going over the theory, going over lines, going over games, going over Stockfish theory, Stockfish giving their take on positions, it says that this move of knight takes pawn is crushing. Okay, and the reason for that is, first off, if you don't take the knight, talk about a monstrous piece. Okay, in fact, at the moment, we're threatening to play knight c2 and just win that rook. Okay, and if you do take the knight, the computer move, queen c6 is played. We're currently down 3 points in material, but we're attacking a rook, right? And if you save the rook, okay, we take your bishop, right? If a move like king e2, bishop g4, thank you for the queen. If a move like queen back, let's take. We're now up in material, and we're going to play active here. Bishop h6, go after that knight, right? Take the knight. Notice here, if the queen takes, thanks for the rook, okay? And if the knight takes, we have bishop h3, preventing this king from castling with rook g6, rook e6 ideas. Rook lift ideas going directly against that king. The king can't castle kingside. The king in the center is not very safe. And even if the king did castle queenside, that king would not be very safe either. For that reason, this position for black is over -4. Okay, so very fun line there. Take with the queen, play knight c6. And if they try to hold on to their pawn, okay. And if they, they try to hold on to their pawn again, we're going to play knight takes d4 followed by queen c6. And by the way, if you see something like queen f3 hanging on to the pawn again, e5, we got 3 pieces developed. We're only a couple moves away from castling. We could get bishop g4 tempo. We're down a pawn, but the computer likes black here because we're just so far ahead in development. What has white done? They developed a queen, and that's it. Okay, so we go back to g takes h5. Now, let's say here that white takes. All right, let's take this pawn on e5. Okay, if we see a move like d takes e5, I recommend, looking into queen d5 there, just going after this pawn. If the knight ends up blocking queen e4 check ideas, just play actively there, okay, if the pawn takes. But if the queen captures back, well, our rook's attacked. Okay, we don't want to play a move like f6 and just totally weaken our position, so let's play rook g8. We want to bring that rook there at some point anyways. Looking to capture on g2. And okay, if you play a move like g3, saving your pawn, or a move like king f1 or whatever, defending the pawn, knight c6, and we get tempo against that queen. Okay, so even if you keep defending it, we capture with the queen. And the reason for that is now that we've traded off, we're very close to castling queenside. And even though the queens are off the board, black still has some great tactical chances here. We're attacking this pawn on c2. White really needs to play this move of knight a3 to stay in the game. And they're still not doing very well, but this is the best move that they have. Let's now play b6. Fee and Keto this bishop and start slicing and dicing on that rook. Okay, we have the bishop pair. We have a monstrous diagonal. This knight on d4 ain't going nowhere. And, even if you play a move like c3, I'm just going to play this. I'm just playing that, okay? If f3 there, the computer likes moves like knight takes f3 or knight c6. And, if you take the knight, thank you for the rook. Okay, you can try to trap our bishop, but, we're going to castle and play actively here. And, if we pull this out in the right way, black has the advantage. Okay, so we play this move rook g8. All that to say, if a move like g3, you get tempo, you're getting your pawn right back. That's fine, right? And if a move like queen e4, going back. Now we don't get tempo with knight c6. So how do we get tempo? Let's play knight d7 and knight f6. Boom, tempo against the queen. If you want to hang on to your pawn on g2, you'll play a move like queen f3, and against that, queen d5. Let's offer a trade, okay? Offer a trade. Now we are closer to castling queenside, and white is lacking some defensive support, okay? If a move like g3, guys, we can't play passive chess, okay? We can't play a6, or no, we gotta really start putting the pressure on white there, okay? If you see a move here like castling kingside, bishop g4, right? Keep putting pressure on the opponent. White is slightly better here according to the engine, but I think that black has enough compensation to argue that giving up the pawn was worth it, okay? One little slip here, like knight c3, which looks like a solid move. I mean, you're defending the pawn, you're defending the knight. The knight's also supporting this knight. So both knights are supporting each other. They're both attacked, but they're both supported. That's true. But now we take. If you take with the pawn, thank you for your minor piece. If you take with the knight there, bishop h3, we're going after this pawn, and if you play the computer recommendation of saving the pawn, we get the exchange. Now we're up in material. And, a move here like castling queenside, very active chess, bishop g7 on the way, e5, potentially breaking things open. I love this for black. Okay. So let's say bishop g4. There's a lot of little slips that white can make. Let's say white plays knight f4. Okay, let's castle, right? Let's castle. Let's support this knight. Again, white should play a move like c3, and they're barely ahead in the evaluation. I mean, if anything at all. I mean, right now I'm looking at it dead even according to Stockfish, maybe 0.1. If that. One little slip here, like taking the knight, black's better. Black's better. Okay, we take this. We're attacking your pawn. Here's the issue, okay? If you defend your pawn with bishop e3 or c3, we have the following idea. By the way, if rook d1, thanks for the rook, okay? So if you defend this pawn, like so, again, you run into this issue with a very active rook on g8, which, again, this is possible because of the fact that white took here and we were able to take with the g-pawn, opening up that g-file. And, we're going after that pawn on g2. The best move here for white is to give up that rook, but after that, c5, we're up material. We're going after this pawn on d4. If you take, you can't, we got a little check there. And we're up material. What does white have to show for it? White has 3 pieces that haven't even moved. Okay, so not great. And going back to rook takes d5, what white should do here is a move like f3, whole idea being that they have rook f2 now defending the pawn. They don't have to give up the rook, but they still lose the pawn on d4. Black's still better here. Bishop pair, active rooks, I'll take it. Okay, so all that to say, when we go back to this move of d6, if you see white take on h5, very common move from white, just take back, okay, and start playing active chess, okay? Start playing active chess. You can take on e5. You're going to be looking at moves like knight c6, queen d5, rook g8, and really put the pressure on the opponent in that kind of scenario. Great game for black. Now, what's the second most popular option in online chess on the Elite Chess database? Well, the second most popular option is taking this pawn. Okay, now in this position, we actually have a couple of different options. I'm going to give both of them to you, and you can pick which one you like the most, okay? Now, the computer recommendation here is c takes d6, but this move, queen takes d6, is also a pretty fun line, and it's not that far behind in the evaluation. Now, if white wants to play a move like knight f3, okay, let's play knight f4. We're just playing chess, okay? If white wants to play a move, c3 or something, knight f4 is an option. We also have bishop g7 ideas, just fianchettoing that bishop and going after that pawn on d4. And if you take on h5, right? If you don't take with the queen, we're just going to keep playing active chess. Okay, our game plan really doesn't change that much. Throw the knight out, rook out, castle queenside, get this bishop active, etc., etc. If the queen takes, again, we have knight c6, and you might notice that this actually transposes into this knight takes d4 line, right? If you take queen c6, we take the bishop, same exact line as before, okay? With, rook g6, rook e6 ideas going up against that king. How's that king going to get safe? In all honesty, I don't know. Okay, great position for black. So That queen takes d6 line is a lot of fun. But c takes d6, very solid option for black, very sound. Yeah, I mean, if we see bishop takes h5, let's play queen a5 with check. The idea now is that we check and our queen slides over. We're not even going down a material. If you take the queen, we take back. Now, I could already see some people saying that, wait, we have really bad pawn structure on the king side. You're 100% correct, okay? And that's something that you give up in this gambit, in all honesty. Your pawn structure sometimes isn't that great, okay? But in return, what do you get? A very active G file for your rook, okay? And in this position, at least, I mean, this is something that we got to be aware of in the endgame. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is not an issue at some point if we don't play it correctly. I'm not going to tell you that these pawns aren't weak. They are. That said, right now, white can't really attack them very well, okay? You know, I'd say one of the best moves I could see here for white is something like knight e2, maybe going for one of them. In that case, we're still playing rook g8, going after this pawn on g2, okay? And if a move like knight f3, just a natural move, all right, rook g8. The second you see g3, play active chess. Go after that pawn on c2. We're looking to take this pawn off. And if you defend it with a move like king d1, you just ran into a pin. And if you play a move like king d2, you just kind of halted your development just to save this pawn. And let's keep playing active. Knight c6. If you push the knight around, we could play bishop g4 and just go after this knight. Okay, whole idea being, if your knight moves, my knight's going to move as well. And if you take our knight, we take back here. A lot of players here would probably just move the rook, and in that case, we're about to go up a pawn. The best move here for white is to take on b7. Whole idea being that if we take the rook, they take our rook. But I would say here that we shouldn't take the rook. We should just take on b7. You know, this king on d2 is pretty exposed, and we have a lot of activity here against this rook, so I would say that keeping rooks on the board is actually to our benefit right now, okay? Slight advantage for black. Not winning, but slight advantage, okay? The bishop pair, bishop h6, potentially on the way, bishop g7, a lot of ideas, and yeah, our bishop's slicing and dicing in a position like this. We're just playing chess. It's pretty fun, okay? So that covers this move, right, of e takes d6. Okay, white captures. You have a couple of different options there. You know, I would say that c takes and queen takes are the two best. Let me know down in the comment section below which one of these you liked the most, at least initially. And yeah, and then from there, you're just playing chess. Again, these lines, if you play these, you have to memorize them, right? If you don't know the lines, if you don't know the theory, you can lose this game in 10, 12, 14 moves. Okay, but if you know the theory, you're more than okay. In fact, your opponent is probably going to be in trouble because who's studying what e4 or d4 player is studying for the Norwegian Gambit / Norwegian Rat Gambit? Okay, not that many. So we're back in this position. We've covered the two most popular moves in online chess, right? Taking the knight and capturing on d6. What's the next most popular move? Knight f3. Okay, now if you see this move, let's just fianchetto our bishop, right? Put some pressure on e5. And notice here, this knight right now can't get trapped because g4 is protected by our bishop. Okay, if you play a move like h3 threatening to trap our knight, let's start taking on e5, right? That, in fact, that pawn helps our knight in that kind of situation with the support on f4. But if you see a move like h3, we can take here and just start opening up this file against the opponent's queen. We're good, okay? And if a move like castling kingside, let's play knight c6. If you want to push, thank you for the pawn. Okay, if you want to play a move like e takes, let's take towards the center of the board. d5, again, we're going to play knight e5. Okay, now in this situation, white can take and then win a pawn. What do we get in return? Again, compensation and a very active g file, this time directly against the opponent's king. Now, here white should play a move like g3. Okay, but let's look at this move of queen takes h7. Why is black okay here? Why is black winning all of a sudden? Because we go back to h8. And the bishop does a great job of supporting this rook. And wherever this queen goes, we take on h2 with check. We play a move like e5, trying to get our queen involved. You know, I mean, as I'm looking at this, it's a mate in 12 for black. And if you use the rule of en passant here as white, it's even faster. Okay, bishop g3 with check. The reason we put the bishop here and not on a square like e5 is so that this queen cannot come to help. Okay, I mean the queen could block there, but I mean, thanks. Okay, and if king g1, beautiful idea here. Give up the rook, throw the queen in, Queen h2 checkmate, we're good. Okay, so we sacrifice the rook there. Queen comes in. We have ourselves a 1 game. Now going back, this pawn is more than poisoned. This is, if you take this pawn, white's losing. Case closed. Now, if you don't take the pawn and you play a move like g3, I'm not recommending that you play rook g7 and try to hang on to it. Just keep developing. Okay, a move like queen b6, very solid. Eyeing up that king on g1. Right, this pawn on f2 cannot move now. If queen takes, rook g6. We're down 2 pawns of material, but we have some great activity and great compensation. Okay, we got 2 major pieces looking directly at the opponent's king. f4 cannot be played. If h4, g3 is going to hang. And let's just say, move like bishop e3, black's better there. Boom, we take the pawn on b2. Great game. Can b3 be played? Nope. Thanks for the rook, right? If we move like knight c3, let's go after this pawn on c2, right? Get a pawn back. If queen h4, we can take. If the rook comes over, rook c8, we're just playing active chess here, okay? Now, we're down a pawn. But that said, white is under a ton of pressure, right? If the bishop moves at any point, b2 falls, okay? If the knight moves, there can be some issues on b2 as well. If the b pawn moves, the knight hangs, okay? We're currently putting 2 attackers on that knight. Now, we've got to be careful with queen h8 ideas, which is why this bishop on e5 is so important in a position like this. But we have a ton of pressure on so many different areas of the board here. And if you look at this queen, it's interesting. In one sense, it's active, but in another sense, all of the following squares, the queen cannot move to. The queen's going to get lost if it moves to any of these squares. So in a weird way, the queen's a little trapped. These are the only, all of the things in red here, the queen, maybe not those 2. These are actually safe squares. But anything in red over here, you cannot move to. You can't move to h6 or h8. And or any of the following squares. So there's only a few squares here for that queen that are safe. Okay, so this queen's having a little bit of a hard time. I feel like black's position is more natural, easier to play, and just at the end of the day, less awkward. Okay, we go back to this move d6. Again, if you see a move like f3, just fianchetto your bishop. If you see a move like f4, now this is very rare. We're down to the 4th most popular move now. When you look at online chess, I mean, this is hardly played at all. When you look at over-the-board tournament chess from Master Plus players, this performs very well for black, okay? What do we do here? I'm recommending knight g7, h5, okay? The second you see f4, 1 and 2. Now, what are we doing here? We're really stamping out the light squares, okay? White's extended their pawn chain very far, so we're going 1, 2, and the next move, we're going to play knight f5. Notice this knight ain't going nowhere. It's not getting kicked around by a pawn. Now, you can attack it all you want and take, but we do have a support there. And because we played h5, g4 does not work. I mean, we're just going to take a pawn, and we're winning that. So if a move like c3, let's just develop. Bishop g7, fianchetto our bishop. I've seen this move of knight g5 in some online games. If white tries that, they're probably thinking about, sacking on h5 or something. Just play bishop h6, right? That's fine. If the knight wants to come in here, just attack it. If we're able to take this knight, in a lot of cases, that's very good because, they get doubled pawns, very overextended pawns. This pawn also leaves the defense of e5, making it even weaker. And if a move like knight e4, let's play d5. We can trade here, play a move like knight c6. And I would say that, maybe a slight advantage to white here. But it's hard. It's hard for white to pull out a win with this. It's just not that simple because we have such a great grip on the light squares and some pretty easy development from black going forward. Okay. Now, the 5th most popular move online is this move of g4. Same idea for black. Okay, we're playing knight g7, h5, 1, 2. Now, in this case, I actually think this is much better for black than the line before. In fact, here, I think black is simply better. White has pushed their pawns way too much. Now, some of you guys, okay, and I'm just being real, okay, some of you guys say stuff like, well, f4, for example, isn't the best move here. I understand that, okay? But what I am saying is that in online chess, that's the most popular move. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to prepare you guys for moves that you'll actually see, okay? Anyone can go to Stockfish and plug in the best moves that oftentimes are not played, hardly at all. Okay. Even master games. Master games are great to look at, but and maybe I'm wrong. Let me know if you resonate with this or not. But I've had students before where I'm showing them all this deep theory. Let's say they're under 1,000. Let's say they're under 1,500, whatever it is, and then they tell me, hey, I have not seen any of those lines once. Right? I'm never getting to move 12 in mainline theory. So I don't want to just prepare you for the main lines. I want to also prepare you for stuff that you're actually going to see. Okay, so that's why I oftentimes go back and forth between main lines and what's popular. What is the best move here for white? Well, it's taking on d6. But in that case, we can just capture back with the queen. What is this pawn on g4 doing? I don't know. Okay, now from a human perspective, the only way to make this move make sense is by continuing to push. But now your pawns are way overextended. We play a move like h5. If you take, we capture back with the knight. The rook supports. Your pawns, you're going to have holes, outposts all over the place. If a move like g5, oh, there's an outpost on f5. This knight will never get kicked by a pawn for the rest of this game. And, we can just continue by fianchettoing our bishop in a position like this. The engine says that black's better after a move like castle and kingside, a move like c5, very sharp, by the way, and knight c6. And I recommend, if there's any of these positions that you don't like for black, just plug it into Stockfish, right? Plug it into the online database. See how black performs. See what Stockfish recommends. Okay, now, Stockfish is a very interesting thing because I think some people overuse it, or maybe not overuse it, but they use it in the wrong way. Okay, you don't want to use Stockfish as a way to memorize lines necessarily. Okay, because if you play whatever opening against Stockfish, it's going to play some weird computer moves that you're never going to see in tournament chess or online chess, especially. Okay. But it is very helpful for finding, the best move, objectively speaking. And it's also, helpful for finding novelties, finding different moves that maybe people haven't played before, maybe moves that you haven't thought of before. But I also recommend pairing Stockfish with an online database like Lichess, like chess.com, looking at master games, okay? See what's popular, see what's played, and plug positions into the engine as well, okay? And once you mix those two together, I think you're going to have a better, well-rounded approach to openings as a whole. Okay, but I'll stop ranting about that. We go back, okay, to this move of d6. We covered a lot. We covered a lot of different moves here, right? We look at taking the knight. We looked at capturing here. We looked at knight f3, f4, right? That's obviously too far. f4, right, instead of f5. g4, we looked at a lot of different moves there. Against all of them, black's okay. All right, black's okay. Now, again, memorize these lines that were shown in this video. If you, by the way, if any of you guys are interested in supporting me on Patreon, I would, appreciate that a ton. Lately, I've been posting PGNs, 2 videos on Patreon, so that all of those patrons can get the PGNs and the theory on these kinds of openings. Okay. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section below if you have any thoughts, any questions. I'm a big fan of this gambit, and I'm a big fan of it partly because I think this works at top levels. Okay, this really does. I mean, this isn't a gambit that kind of stops working at a certain point. In a weird way, it starts working at a certain point. And, no matter what your level, right? No matter what your level, you can play whatever you want. There's nothing, I'm not going to get in the way of you playing something, right? I know some people say, don't play the Sicilian until you hit this rating. And sure, there's some truth behind that, right? But at the same time, I'm big on enjoying the game of chess and playing things that you're excited about. So no matter what your rating is, if you're excited about this, play it. But I am warning you that you have to play very well, which is, very high accuracy, which is why I recommend this for intermediate and advanced players. And on top of that, you have to memorize. This is one of those gambits that you have to put the work in terms of opening theory. Okay, there's other openings, the Hippopotamus Defense. There's some lines there, but overall it's more strategy, middle game, strategy, flowing themes, that kind of thing. The Saragossa opening for white, stuff like that. You can just kind of play it. London system, great opening for beginners because you can learn it in 10 minutes. An opening like this is going to take a lifetime to learn. Okay, so all that to say, again, hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought down below, and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you. As I make this video, by the time I post it, we might be over 30,000, but as I make this video, we're close to 30,000. So to all nearly 30,000 of you, I appreciate you guys a ton. My goal is to hit 100. So if you'd, be willing to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, I would appreciate that more than you know. Wishing you guys a great day. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of February in 2024. You guys have been amazing. I'm extremely blessed to have you guys as part of the Patreon family. There's exclusive benefits that you gain by becoming a member. So, I highly recommend that you check it out and consider it. It's been great to, hang out and get to know the patrons that have joined thus far. And I hope to see you there soon. Have a good day.